On the night of November 7th, 2025, an online taxi driver received a request in Ruiru. He was supposed to drop off a 23-year-old graduate, Cecilia Achieng, in Juja. Instead, less than 2 hours later, she was dead. Just 3 months earlier, Cecilia had graduated from Mount Kenya University. Her whole future was ahead of her. If you scroll through her TikTok today, you will see a young, beautiful woman full of life, confident, hopeful, just getting started. Nothing about her page prepares you for how the story ends. So how does a routine cab turn into a fatal accident along Thika Superhighway? What really happened inside the car? Why was she left on the highway? And what took place in the hours before her death? Tonight, we break it down minute by minute. Welcome to Fatal Journeys, where we honor the lives behind the headlines and seek light in the lives attended too soon. Cecilia Achieng was born and raised in Kisumu in 2002, where her family still lives today. She grew up in a loving home surrounded by family who believed in education, discipline, and big dreams. She attended Rangala Girls High School in Siaya County, where she was known as a brilliant and determined student. Teachers remembered her as focused and respectful. Friends described her as warm, lively, full of personality. After high school, Cecilia would relocate to Thika, training to become a teacher specializing in history and CRE, which is Christian Religious Education. Between January and April 2005, she did her teaching practice at Moi Force Academy in Nairobi. Those who interacted with her said she loved teaching. She had patience, she had energy, and she had that spark of a teacher. And in August 2005, just 3 months before her death, she graduated. A whole future ahead of her. She had just stepped into adulthood. Dreams were forming, plans were being made. But on the night of Friday, November 7th, 2005, everything changed. It was close to midnight when an online taxi driver named Patrick Modhami received a ride request. The pickup location was Ruiru. The booking had been made by her friend named Ronald, who requested the driver to pick up 2 women, Cecilia and her friend Sally, and drop Cecilia to her residence in Juja. When Patrick arrived, he noticed something immediately. The 2 young women appeared intoxicated. According to the driver's later statements, Cecilia seemed particularly unsteady. Before starting the trip, Patrick requested payment upfront. He said he was concerned about possible dispute because of Cecilia's condition. The women attempted to pay via M-Pesa, but after repeatedly entering the wrong PIN, Cecilia's account became blocked. At that point, Patrick contacted Ronald. Ronald agreed to pay for the ride. Payment was confirmed, the trip began. It is unclear why Sally did not join the trip, but it was said that Ronald and Sally were dating. Less than a kilometer into the journey, things reportedly started to escalate. As they approached Thika Superhighway, Cecilia allegedly became rowdy. According to the driver, she began shouting, "Where are you taking me? Stop the car here." Patrick tried to explain that they were headed to Juja, her requested destination, and that they had not yet arrived. But as they reached the Ruiru flyover, the situation worsened. The driver claims Cecilia grabbed his shirt from behind while the car was moving. He said she was becoming physically aggressive, even attempting to strangle him at one point. At this point, Patrick felt that Cecilia was putting their lives at risk and feared that the cab would cause an accident if the altercation continued. He therefore took control of the situation. With one hand, he tried to control Cecilia's arm. With the other hand, he steered the vehicle to the side of the road. He pulled over safely. Immediately, he called Ronald and explained that he could not continue with the trip with Cecilia in this condition. All the while, Cecilia screaming, banging the seat, and banging the door, asking to go back. He requested that Ronald and Sally come to the nearby footbridge to help her calm down. He tried to hand the phone to Cecilia so she could speak to her friend. She refused and continued shouting in the taxi, banging the door and the seats. Ronald, unable to talk to Cecilia, reportedly responded, "She's not a small child. She knows what she's doing." And then the call ended. Shortly after that, Cecilia stepped out of the vehicle. She began walking along the road, back towards where they had come from. Patrick ended the trip and drove away. What happened next is the part that still shakes many people. Approximately an hour later, Cecilia was reportedly attempting to walk back towards her friend's house. It was still late at night, vehicles moving at high speed along Thika Highway. And then she was hit by an oncoming vehicle, a different vehicle, not the cab. We will come back to the driver of this vehicle later. As for Cecilia, the impact was fatal. A boda boda rider who witnessed the crash later helped identify her. Her brother would later confirm the tragic news to Ruiru police station. Just hours earlier, she had been laughing with her friends. Now she was gone. On Monday, November 10th, 2025, the news reached her family in Kisumu. And what made it even more heartbreaking is that this family had experienced this kind of loss before. They had previously lost their father in a different road accident. Now, another road tragedy had taken their daughter. Her family described Cecilia as hardworking, kind, generous, and loving. A young woman who had completed her studies and was ready to begin her life. She was supposed to be starting her career as a teacher and was also trying her hand in content creation. We will never know which path she would have taken because she had gone too soon. As for the driver who hit Cecilia, police did not press any charges. Under the Kenyan civil law, if a pedestrian, including someone who is intoxicated, behaves recklessly, such as jumping into the highway or crossing in an undesignated spot, they are seen as having contributed to the accidents. Courts often divide the blame between the driver and the pedestrian through contributory negligence. There is no liability without fault in Kenya. The victim's family must prove the driver was actually negligent, either that they were speeding or failing to brake when they could have. This case was difficult because Cecilia was intoxicated and crossing in a place where she should not have been in the highway. The family saw no need to pursue the matter as it would be difficult to prove the driver's fault. The driver also complied with the law in a way that protected him. Section 73 of the Traffic Act, duty to stop and report. Regardless of who is at fault, a driver must stop and report the accident to the police within 24 hours. Because the driver stopped and reported the incident to the police, he fulfilled his legal obligation, and the authorities found no evidence of criminal negligence to warrant charges. At this point, you may be wondering what could have been done differently here. It raises many painful questions about alcoholism, about personal responsibility, about friendships and safety. The driver Patrick Modhami later described himself as shaken by the incident. He urged young people to avoid irresponsible drinking, calling it a worrying and dangerous trend. Our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Cecilia Achieng. Thanks for watching. If you want more of these stories, please subscribe. In the meantime, stay safe on the road.